It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Musical Lyrical Lingo. We're your hosts, Tim
and LJ. Today and every week we will be talking musicals and specifically what they taught us.
I think I'm getting used to this intro now, Lauren.
Well, we'll see, because every week you still ask me to bring the script.
It's just a wee comfort blanket.
Wouldn't be having that now if you were actually on stage.
Oh no, I would. I definitely would. Do you, like, when you were performing, did you never have, like, your own, like, comfort blankets? Like, things that you would have had in your dressing room? Or no?
No.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But, like, you wouldn't give hints or anything to anybody if they were, like, struggling on stage?
Definitely not. Even, like, in school, like, they don't get a prompt. Like, they don't... Well, I do not have a prompter. But I think we rehearse it to the extent that even as young as they might be, like I work with 10 and 11-year-olds, like they know it well, like they know it well enough that even if they don't, like even if they drop a line, they can work together to get themselves out of it, which is makes me really proud of them. Mm-hmm. Like, but no, I don't do a prompter. Although saying that, when I performed as a comfort blanket, I always kept my script in the wings at the side of the stage. I never went near it.
But it was just there?
Because I didn't have to, but it was always there. And I would never have started a show without my script in the wings. Ever.
No, I'm not good at it now. Like, even, trying to remember, like, keywords for presentations and things like that. I have to have notes.
Yeah.
I think I just have too much going on. As you get older, your memory's just not as good. But...
I agree. Well, yeah, because that was one of the things when I kind of stopped performing, partly because I didn't enjoy it because I just got too anxious and nervous, but also learning the stuff and remembering the stuff and retaining it was harder and harder. We're talking like we're 85.
I know.
And we're nowhere near that age. But
I know. But it shows you that your brain is a muscle and you need to exercise it. Like, you need to do memory.
But we exercise our brains every day with our work and our jobs.
No, but I think that just becomes it's like driving. Do you ever just, like, drive somewhere and then you go, how did I get here? Because you don't remember it.
Maybe.
I think that's why it's always important to take up something new.
Yeah, well, hence this podcast. This is something new for me, but for you too. You've never done a podcast either, unless you've been cheating on me with someone else behind my back. Yeah, so you having our intro script is like my comfort blanket.
Okay, I get it.
I barely have to, but I'm proud of myself in that I don't really look at it. Although if it wasn't there, I would freak out.
So episode 16,
not happening.
We are.
This is episode 16.
But that's what I mean. Episode 16.
I'm getting the hang of this now.
Getting the hang of it, of what it is we need to say. But I mean,
pretty much.
I never know what I'm saying anyway. Like, even whenever I have the word written down in front of me, I still don't say it right.
Like Trunchbull.
Oh, shut up.
You're now trying to say that you were calling it the Trunchbull because you couldn't read your own writing. No, that's lies. That's total lies. You thought the character was legit called the Trunchbull.
Well, I can't remember. That was last episode. We're now on this episode.
Do you not remember reading the book?
Don't focus on the past.
Yeah, that's true. Only look towards the future. All right. Fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Anyway, you keep it okay?
I'm doing all right, yeah. Just about. Coping.
Oh, gosh.
And you?
Yeah, doing fine. Though I do feel like I'm dressed a bit weird today. I've got a cardigan, like a vest top on, and like flip-flops on the bottom half.
You are ready you're ready for all eventualities. We'll just see what the weather's like next week when you're camping. If you're camping.
I know. Well, wonder what will have been made of that situation.
The weather doesn't bother me at the moment because I'm stuck indoors all day, every day on this project. So it can be lashing outside with rain and I won't care. In fact, I'll be quite gleeful at that other people aren't getting to enjoy lovely weather whilst I'm stuck in the theatre.
I'm just raging the weather's disappeared, like.
Yeah, no, but that's always the way. The weather is always glorious when I'm in school and sweltered in a classroom, and then as the hour we finished for summer, that's when the rain and the thunderclouds and thunder and lightning. Like, when do we ever get thunder and lightning?
Like in July.
I know, it's mental.
It shouldn't happen. I know we don't have the best weather, but at least you kind of want the summer to be summer.
I know. Well, I've got my fingers crossed and my toes crossed for you.
Thanks.
This week in your camping escapades.
Thanks. Well, maybe next time we are recording, I'll have some adventurous stories.
That would be good. That would be very good. And hopefully next time we're recording, our show will have passed by fabulously well. Oh, yes. Yes. And we'll have all lived to tell the tale, but we'll soon find out.
Oh, yeah. Well, all be good.
Indeed.
All be good.
Yeah.
Ready to move on to this week's musical?
Yeah, we are, absolutely. So last week we did Matilda, which was kind of based on a young girl who kind of led the charge and was the person that was holding the show together. Mm-hmm. And then my clue was that we would be looking at another musical that was in exactly the same situation, where a young juvenile was the main, the leading player. So what is that musical?
Musical is Billy Elliot.
Yes, Billy Elliot.
I think we're going to feel very differently about this musical.
Do you reckon? Oh, do you have a funny feeling?
Yeah, I have a funny feeling.
Well, I'll give you a bit of a clue. You kind of gave off to me last week because I used the same adjective to describe all these musicals. But Billy Elliot
I didn't give off to you.
No,
you said that it was a common word that you use. Yeah. So
Billy Elliot isn't sublime. It's outstanding, in my opinion.
No way. You think Billy Elliot is an outstanding musical?
It's outstanding.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, dear.
I
didn't expect this. Really? I thought the dramatist in you would be all over this one. Okay, we'll get to it maybe later, will we?
I think I have a problem with musicals that I haven't always seen on stage. Like, I've seen a pro shot of this.
Okay.
And that's it.
Did you see it when it was in the cinema? Is that the pro shot? No.
I've seen that pro shot, but it was on Sky Arts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so
it's
the same. It's the same recording that was done. Okay, cool. So you have seen it in its entirety, and it's not like a wee poorly filmed bootleg.
No.
Okay,
it's a wee slime tutorial.
Wee slime tutorial. If you know,
I really hope people know.
You know.
If you know, you know.
Okay.
So anyway, and we'll get on to that as the
through
the
your
episode.
gritted. Yeah.
No, it's not through gritted teeth. It's not in Oklahoma. I'm not. It's not that.
We're not going back there.
No,
How dare you?
I just mean I'm not.
However, on Oklahoma, just on total side note, one of the creatives that I'm working with this week saw Oklahoma in London and has absolutely destroyed it. Apparently it's awful. In their opinion, it was awful. But
because it's been struck back too much.
To be fair, the things he's told me about it, I'm not so sure I would like that. He is a lover of Oklahoma, like I am. So I think the things that he didn't like, I also wouldn't like.
Because it's been stripped back and the musical's terrible.
It sounds like it's an absolute rump fest.
Oh.
Like Aunt Eller's basically longing to snog the face off Curly and all, and I'm like, that's just wrong. That's all wrong. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, I'll not be going to see it, so.
I now want to see it even more, but I also want to see it on a £5 ticket.
You don't want to invest
I don't
in
want
it.
to be given a huge amount of money to absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
But interesting. We're not going back to Oklahoma because I don't think you could cope with that.
No,
so
I couldn't.
Give us a little bit of background info on Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot is based on the 2000 film. and the music is by Elton John, and the book and lyrics are by Lee Hall. So it is about a young boy, and he finds ballet, but it's based on the 1980s miners' strike in County Durham. The screenplay is actually based on the 1935 novel, The Stars Look Down, which we'll talk about a wee bit later on. It was in the West End in 2005, moved to Broadway in 2008, and then the tour was 2016, but before that the pro shot was 2014. So a young boy whose mum has passed away, and his dad and his older brother work in the mines during the Margaret Thatcher years.
Yeah.
And this boy is meant to be going to boxing, but discovers ballet and ends up being a really awesome ballet dancer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Another political musical, Lauren, just saying.
I mean, funny, I was re-listening to must have been our Annie one.
Okay.
Where at that point we had done a couple of political musicals.
Yeah.
And it's crazy now that you look
I don't
back.
think you can get away from it. I just think so many are there's a political element to them.
Yeah.
But it's not something that would pop out. Well, it's certainly not something that like popped out at me when I saw all of these different shows. It's only when you actually sit down and you strip them apart, or you actually look at the ins and outs of the musicals that we're doing on these podcasts that you go, flip me, like it, the political time or era or events are so documented in a lot of musical theatre pieces. But anyway, hey ho. I suppose it's something to talk about, isn't it? It's
true. And what I find interesting is this is another one that had an original source material.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of musicals very rarely just come out of thin air now.
Yeah.
Or not now,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think it's there's always something. But this one, the movie was very popular. Mm-hmm. I love the movie.
Adored the movie.
Love the movie.
And I think the movie was the beginning of my infatuation with Julie Walters.
Oh, okay.
Julie Walters is right up there with one of my favourite actresses. I adore her and everything she's in. And I think Billie Elliot was the first time I ever experienced her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2000, well, I suppose it depends whenever that came out, but I always remember our school years by September of the year is the year that we went into that class. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So September 2000, we would have been going into year 10.
Okay.
But if it was before that, we would have been in year 9.
Yeah.
So we're still like young enough that some of these things like the miners' strikes, we grew, or we were born the later part of the 80s, and we were born in Northern Ireland, which had its own difficulties.
And I'm sorry, like as a child, like I wasn't the news would have been on in our house, but I was never that inquisical as a child. Do you know what I mean? And I definitely would have watched the news with mum and dad, but I wouldn't have been one of those kids that if I was listening to something that I didn't understand, I wouldn't have gone, but what are they talking about? What does that, like, what's going on with these minor strikes? I don't understand. Yeah. I just wasn't one of those kids.
But
so
we definitely weren't really around for those.
No, of course not. No.
So like we weren't. So this was probably our first, what I'm saying is year 9, year 10, our first introduction to that this happened in the 80s.
Yeah.
We weren't aware of this. So it was
but even the Troubles, so we're from Northern Ireland, and like what really irks me about, theatre and Irish theatre is a lot of Irish theatre, or a lot of Irish pieces that have been written, or plays that have been written, or musicals, like often surround some take on the Troubles, which was a conflict that we've had in our country for many years. But as a child, I think my parents maybe, sheltered me from it to a certain extent, but I knew that there was unrest. I knew there was unhappiness. But I didn't know the ins and outs. I didn't really know anything about
because
it.
of the time period that we grew up in. You know, we weren't involved in all that, and where we were living as well. It wasn't a massive.
Yeah, no, there had been a turning there's certainly been a turning point to an element of resolution. Yeah. By the time we came of age, that we would have had understanding. But even at that, then it was only much later that I actually kind of properly started to understand it or look into it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't, as I've said many times, it's almost like I'm covering my arse here. Every time I say it, I wasn't a history kind of person. So I don't know if you did that in school as part of your history courses. I didn't do history, so I didn't have that. So then I had to go and learn it myself. Do you know what I mean? So these like political, like historical things, I didn't really know until much later. So often musicals like Billy Elliot were the first, opportunities for me to go, oh, actually, that's what that was all about in the 80s, or that was what, Yeah,
and I think that is majorly that's wonderful what you've said there, is why we need to protect the arts, because people are going to learn about situations, about time periods through a different medium.
Of course.
And it's going to make them a better person, because if we all can learn from our past, no matter who we are, where we live, but if we, cut funding, if we don't give accessibility to those who can't go to their local theatre or whatever, if we don't put more arts on TV or more opportunities for children, then they're not going to learn about history, because it is a great medium to share about what happened in the past. And maybe a
much more approachable way than a textbook or a lecture. Yeah.
Because I think, as, you're a teacher, I'm a tutor, we understand the way children and young people learn. Yeah. And, if we look at VARC, very few are just auditory, or very few need to just read and write. A lot of people need to do or see. Yeah. They're the two main ones. And I think that if you don't have those opportunities for kids or young people or adults, anybody, if you just don't have those opportunities, then how can we expect people to learn and listen and take part?
So fight for the arts.
Yeah, absolutely. How did we get onto that?
We got very political very quick there, Lauren.
Gosh.
So, shall we move on to our musical lyrical lingos then for Billy Elliot?
Yes, I'm going to go first because I don't have a lot. Okay, and then...
Yeah. Well, from my lack of history, I'm sure you can imagine I've probably got a few more that you already knew.
Okay. Maybe, or maybe I just didn't.
You never know.
So I had said that the screenplay of the Billy Elliot film was based on a 1935 novel called The Stars Look Down, and that is the opening number. Yeah. Which is called The Stars Look Down, and it is reference to the novel, which I think is about the miners' strikes of the 1930s onwards. So then this is just about how history repeats itself. Yeah. So this is set in the 1980s, and there's miners' strikes going on again.
Very good.
So, I just thought it was interesting.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that song was based on previous strikes. I didn't know that at all. Brilliant. Wow.
And then we have the song Shine, and again, I'm not going to be able to say trapezoid.
Yeah, I've got,
I did not know that was meant a 2D shape.
Yeah, I knew trapezium is a 2D shape, and trapezoid is trapezium, here's the teach from me, Lauren, is imagine the shape of a roof of a house.
Okay.
So it's kind of that. Yeah. You see, this is maybe, a few people have said you need to film your podcast, and I'm like, dear, I would need to do an awful lot of work before we put a camera in front of me. So for everybody, because there's no video yet, I'm doing the shape of a trapezium for Lauren now, so she gets it. It's like the shape of a roof.
Get it. Well,
really good teacher, aren't I?
You are a very good teacher. And then there's the word coalesce. C-O-A-L-E-S-C-E.
Yes, I've got this. Yeah, it doesn't matter if your life's a mess; the whole process will coalesce.
Yeah, so it means to come together to form one mass.
Yeah,
like
to unite.
Coal.
Yeah. Oh well, clever. Yeah. Coalesce. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what they're mining, isn't it?
Yeah, coal.
Yeah.
But the word coalesce means to unite.
Yeah.
But clever play on words.
Yeah.
For the subject matter. Very good.
And then the other one in that, again, effervescence. E-F-F-E-R.
Effervescent.
Okay. Right. So, whenever you look that up, it says one is to give off bubbles. Mm-hmm. And then one is to be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
But how's that the same thing? Is that just the word has two different meanings? Or is
so one's a noun, the other's a verb?
Oh, I don't understand nouns and verbs.
Nouns are a thing.
A person, place, or thing.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
but I just... Okay, so it's the same word, but it just has two different meanings.
Yeah, so you can get those wee tablets which are effervescent, and you put them into water and it foams up, it bubbles up.
And the bubbles of a sea, because that's being enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Whenever the tide's coming in, is that?
Yeah.
No?
No, I'm getting confused.
Okay, no, never mind. Sorry, just
yeah.
stuff that comes out of Lauren's head.
But in that number, it would be about being enthusiastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
being bubbly. Because that's in Mrs. Wilkinson's dance class, isn't it? She's singing that. Shine, did you say? Yeah. Which is all about shining, show off and shine.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that your musical lyrical English?
Awesome.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. So, the lack of historian in me, I learnt obviously a lot about as you say, the British coal miners' strike of 1984. I love the juxtaposition of this show, where it's almost like a show of two halves, and that half of it is storytelling the miners' strike, and then the other half is this boy who turns out loves to dance and feels he can't dance, but actually that's what he's born to do. And I love how it mixes all of those two kind of sides throughout this whole show. So,
but that's life. You just gave an example there of how the news would have been on in your house.
Yeah.
So your parents would have been interested in the news and really intrigued as to what's going on a day-to-day basis, and you were aware that it was on, but it didn't affect your life.
I just wanted to dance.
It didn't. You just wanted to dance.
Oh my God! I was Billy Elliot. I didn't know it. Growing up, I was Billy Elliot.
Oh my gosh!
Maybe a tap dance, a hoofer rather than a ballet dancer.
But it just, as a child, we don't necessarily understand the struggles that our parents are going through or other adults are going through, because it doesn't directly affect us at all times. I did. I learned about the impact of on the blue collar workers of the northeast of England.
And also, how the strikes were also exacerbated by the lack of income during the strikes.
Yes.
Because of the cuts being made by the government, by Margaret Thatcher's government. Yeah. And again, prime ministers and what they do and what they don't do, I wasn't really, that involved in. The musical absolutely hates Margaret Thatcher for that obvious reason. And in Merry Christmas, Maggie Thatcher, one of the lines says, "They've come to raid your stockings and steal your Christmas pudd, but don't be too downhearted. It's all for your own good," which is probably what they were being told at the time by the government. The economic infrastructure must be swept away to make way for call centres and lower rates of pay. So, the fact that Thatcher revolution that was involved was massive. But that comment or that lyric about the call centres is about the changes that Thatcher made to telecommunication industry and the privatisation of BT in 1984, which I knew nothing about. So I learned all of that. I love that you're nodding knowingly, going, yeah, I knew.
No, I'm not doing that, but I just...
Yeah, but you did. But I didn't. Yeah. I genuinely didn't. In Shine, at the beginning of Shine, in Shine is the first time Mrs. Wilkinson, isn't that right? Wilkinson and Billie meet each other.
Yeah.
Because Billy is in the same hall that his boxing would take place and her dance classes would take place. And she's basically going, who are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
And he goes, I'm Billy.
Yeah.
And then she's like, here's a rhetorical question.
Exactly.
I don't care. You're in my dance class.
Yeah. But that's it. And that's where this musical lyrical lingo comes from. Because he's like, I'm Billy. And she's like, pleased to meet you. I'm Margot flippin' Fontaine. It was a rhetorical question. Bugger off.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Margot Fontaine was.
Okay.
That her name's not actually Margot flippin' Fontaine.
Yeah,
that was just fucking. So Margot Fontaine was actually Dame Margaret Evelyn de Aria, whose stage name was Margot Fontaine, and she was a very famous English ballerina who spent her whole career in the Royal Ballet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know who Margot flippin' Fontaine was, so I learned that. You've mentioned coalesce. Also in Shine, she says, it doesn't matter if you're unemployed or only partially humanoid. I didn't know the humanoid was just having the appearance or the character of a human.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. Yeah. A bit like your trapezoid. Maybe they just put oid on a couple, because trapezoid was yours, wasn't it? In Grandmother's Song, which I think we might talk about later, because I know you.
You do, yeah.
And I think I know you quite well, and I think you'll probably have something to say about Grandma's Song later, and I'll give the reason for that when you probably say something about it. But in the show, there is a character, Grandma, who doesn't say very much, but she has a song.
Yes.
And the song's all about her relationship with her husband. And she says, oh, he'd drink and he'd talk just like a fool, lie like a bairn, B-A-I-R-N, swear like a mule. Yeah. I didn't know that bairn was a term for child. Now, I thought it was a Scottish, but I didn't realise it was also used in North England.
We would hear it quite a lot with Ulster Scots.
Yes.
Yes, but bairn's mentioned quite a lot in Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
Even the brother says, like, you can't go back. We've been striking for over a year now. He's just a bairn.
He's just a bairn.
So,
but I knew that in the context of Ulster Scots or Scottish. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know that it was also a term that was used in the Northeast. Okay. Yeah. In one of my favourite songs in the show, Express Yourself, which Billy and his best friend Michael do, where they're dressing up and just expressing themselves. That song taught me that I wasn't the only one that dressed up and danced around the house in his tap shoes. And that what the hell's wrong with expressing yourself and being who you want to be? Because literally that's what I would have done. I would have just put a tea towel on my head and put my tap shoes on and just danced around the house like an absolute maniac.
Love it.
And that's okay, because what the hell is wrong with expressing yourself? So yeah, I learned that. I also didn't know who Michael Heseltine was. So that's also back to Merry Christmas, Margaret Thatcher. They sing, it's heading up to Islington, it's coming down the Tyne. Oh, it's bloody Margaret Thatcher and Michael Heseltine.
Yeah, sorry, he was part of her cabinet.
He was, yeah. And he was like a troubleshooter to deal with like the explosion of violence in the British inner cities because of the changes that were coming about.
These strikes.
Yeah, so I didn't know who Michael Heseltine was. Yeah. But that number is hilarious because they've got a massive is it Talking Pictures or Talking Heads, like puppet of Margaret Thatcher and Michael Heseltine. It's very funny.
Though what I do think was great of the musical, whenever Margaret Thatcher died, they came out and they said, this is of a time and we are being, we understand that this woman has died. But I thought that was nice that they made reference to that.
That's one of my interesting facts. So the week... So when the former Prime Minister Thatcher died in 2013, the audience, as Lauren says, the audience was asked whether the song which gleefully anticipates when the event should happen, of Thatcher dying, whether it should be performed.
Yes.
And the audience were like, yeah. So it was. Yeah. It was performed. Yeah. But absolutely. Showed a bit of class from the production. Yeah. And the theatre. Yeah. That was a fun fact to have. So there's my musical lyrical lingos. I'm such a well-rounded person from my learning that I have taken from musicals. It's taught me so much.
See, people will say, what can you learn from a musical?
Yeah.
You can learn so much.
Absolutely.
And that's just in one musical.
Yeah.
Like what we've learned.
I know.
In 16.
Yep.
Yeah, so any connections?
So I remember seeing it in the West End. We went as a family.
Oh, yeah.
In 2005.
So whenever it just opened?
Yeah. I think we saw it within the year of it opening. Yeah. And I just sat in absolute awe that a boy so young could hold and carry a show. And we talked about Matilda last week and how that young actress has so much responsibility on her shoulders. But obviously, Billy Elliot, the musical, came before Matilda. Yeah. So it was the first time for me that I saw. And it was different from an Oliver or an Annie or any of those other shows, because this was a boy who the storyline and the plot was so intense, dealing with the whole unrest of that time, dealing with family chemistry, and some of the emotions he had to get across. Yeah. Also, the choreography that boy had to do was absolutely insane. Yeah. Like, I've never seen a child so young tap the way he tapped. And I just sat relatively young still myself, but into my teens going, wow. Yeah. Wow, he's doing that at the age of 11 or 12. Like, fair dues to you. Like, unbelievable. Yeah. And I've already mentioned, I just remember that juxtaposition between the ballet dancing kids and the burly miners. Yeah. And then I remember at the end of the show, as a big finale number, all of a sudden the burly miners start tap dancing themselves. And I'm like, okay, this is absolutely insane. It was just so memorable that I'm I adore it. And I feel bad because I kind of forgot about it a bit.
Oh, okay.
And then when I started looking at this, looking at it for today's podcast, I went back and I listened to it again and I went, oh my goodness.
They brought you back?
Yeah, it totally brought me back. And I now want to watch that recording of it that was done again, because I want to see it again. Because I remember at the time being just completely in awe. And I think I saw it 2 further times. I went back to it when it was still on, because it was so good. And I haven't seen Hamilton yet. I've seen it on Disney Plus, but I kind of don't like Hamilton to a certain extent, because it was the show that kicked Billy Elliot out of its theatre that it had been in for a very long time. Yeah. And I probably, if there hadn't been a show of the magnitude of Hamilton, it probably would still be there, because I think it was still selling tickets. I don't think it was that it had started to struggle, but I think they needed a theatre of a particular size.
And that was it.
The theatre needed rejuvenated as well. I think they needed to do a lot of work to the theatre, and they went, perfect, we'll take Billy Elliot out, we'll fix up the theatre, brand spanking new sparkling theatre for a show like Hamilton to come into it. So I'm like, Hamilton.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I remember Grandma's song too, which I'll
hold on, because I don't know what you're going to say about Grandmother's Song.
No, well, I don't have many connections to the musical.
Yeah.
There was a big buzz about Billy Elliot in Stage Girl, and I have that. I loved the film. I adored it. I have seen that thousands of times, I'm sure it is. I really fancied Jamie Bell, so I was of that age where I was like, I loved that he was expressing himself through dance.
Because that's what we did.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And also I loved that he was expressing himself through dance and he wasn't being picked on for, having to be a girl. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then I love that his best friend could express himself, I loved Julie Walters in it. She's fab. And then the musical, so whenever it came out, it was funny that you've compared it to Hamilton. It was a bit like Hamilton. It was the hot show, and you could not get tickets. So I spoke about this before in our Disney episode. Whenever I was at uni in London and I had to compare Lion King to Blasted. We were originally meant to go and see Billy Elliot.
Oh, right, okay.
But we couldn't get tickets. Because it was like the hot thing. So I remember doing a lot of work around Billy Elliot and, and the question the lecturer said, like, why at the end is there the big finale number? Like, why can it not just be left on that sort of coat hanger? Why can it not just be left there? Why do you think the musical has to end in the big finale? Because at that time, the early 2000s or whatever, you really wouldn't have had a musical that would have been sad apart from your traditional Les Mis. So you do need to have that feel good factor. There was that sort of thought, I suppose, that you needed to go to the theatre for feel good and come out singing and dancing. So that's why they put the finale number in, where you have your minors tap dancing and everything at the end. So I remember doing a lot of work that way, and being like, oh yeah, I wonder why they couldn't do that. And anyway, we went to Lion King instead. So that's my connections to it. So I did listen to it a lot, and I love that song, We Like to Boogie. It really reminds me of Billy Elliot and just dancing in general.
Oh, We Like to Boogie in the film. Yeah. It's a shame they didn't put that in, because I know some musicals that go from a film do take a token song or two, a bit like Back to the Future. They put in that song that I forgot was in it. Remember that?
But on some soundtracks, or if you're listening to it on YouTube, they will put in, if you're listening to the movie or the musical Billy Elliot, We Love to Boogie is in the list.
The person's playlist, because it's such an iconic film moment, isn't it? Do you know what I also remember about the show?
What?
And was quite shocked? The language.
Okay, yes.
The language. There's a lot of bad language, and I think what was so shocking was that it was used by the children, and it was also used directed towards the kids. So I remember the language really well, and I remember there's one number where it's just music. There's no singing. Called The Angry Dance, where Billy Elliot basically lets out all his frustrations, and it's like about a 5-minute dance number, and that boy goes from tapping to doing a bit of like break dancing kind of stuff, like on that boy's skills to play that part. And I don't know, I might be wrong, but I have a funny feeling they doctored, like the associate or the resident choreographers, like doctored some of the choreography to fit the expertise of the boys, because obviously there will have been so many Billies. But I do think as the show went on through the years, I think some kids that maybe came in and were particularly good and had an element of hip hop about them, I think the choreography became, a wee bit more hip hoppy as well. Obviously they had to have the ballet for the ballet bits, and they had to have the tap for the tap routines that were in it. But I do think it was good. A movable feast, and that it changed depending on the Billies. Like they had to open like a Billy Elliot school.
That's right.
Where it's a bit like Starlight Express. Anybody who's going into Starlight Express, which is a musical about trains, in case anybody doesn't know, and the actors are trains.
Yeah.
They have to go
not
to like
physical trains. They're representing trains.
They are trains.
Yeah.
And they have to go to like train, like a skating school. Billy Elliot went to a Billy school where and I think from there they went, oh, they can do this, so let's change it up. But like the skill of those boys, dance wise, that they had to have, and then be able to sing.
But the language you're talking about, that is all to represent the blue collarness of, and I think if they had have not included that, then it wouldn't have the heart, I suppose, or the authenticity that the show has for that era.
Definitely. We did do it in stage school, and I loved the wee section that we did in stage school, and I think it's one of the best sections we've ever done, ever. And again, it was a hot ticket at the time when we went, oh, let's just do a wee section, and some of the songs are brilliant, and we had a really good, boy who was fantastic ballet dancer, and, we really, used that to its full potential as well. It's also, as you know, I'm not great at accents, like really not great at accents.
Still working on your Liverpudlian.
Going back to our Blood Brothers episode, but I can sing Electricity in a Geordie accent.
Can you?
But if you would ask me to do a Geordie accent, I couldn't do it. I can only sing Electricity in a Geordie accent.
Because those words.
Yeah.
Know them in a song.
Well, yeah, because you just sing along to the soundtrack so much and you sing along to the accent.
Love it.
Yeah. No, but I can't do a Geordie accent otherwise. And I also couldn't, if you were to say, oh, we'll do the first couple of lines now, I couldn't do it because I need the song on to sing along to. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I should play it now and you should start singing.
No. None of the listeners need to have that. But do you not love the grandma song?
No, I do like the grandma song
because it's because you're a real actress, you're a proper straight actress, and it's almost like a monologue, isn't it?
Yeah, I do love it, but also what I love about it is in the film, grandma is just sort of in the corner, and she's not really. She's featured a little bit, but I feel like that with that song that gives her a purpose. Yeah,
to be there. But she is in the background for most of the musical too. But she gets this song early in the
in the first
show.
4 or 5 songs, isn't it? No, I do love it. I love how she, they were married for 30. I love how Geordie say "you're." I obviously can't do the accent, but it's not years. It's like we were married, and we shouldn't ever have married. And I think that has to come down to the standard or how the actress plays it. They have to be of a caliber to take you along that journey, so that you are there with her. That you never see this man. You never meet him.
That's right.
But through her storytelling and her performance, you feel
exactly what's going on. Yeah. It's very rare that in musicals you could have a character who only has one song, but yet it's probably one of the memorable moments of the show. Do you know what I mean? Oh, that character and their one song. Yeah. I wouldn't say stole the show because there's, in my opinion, because I really like this show, there's so many moments that is just wow. But hers is definitely one of those moments, and she only has the one song to make that impression. I also am a sucker for male voice choirs. Do you know what I mean? You see, if a male voice choir starts to sing, I can get a bit teary and emotional. It makes me I don't know, it's something about male voices blending together and having a real wow impact on me.
I wonder, is that you would have grown up as your dad was doing choirs, and
maybe
that's something it's a real core memory that makes you feel good.
It could be, I don't know, but there's a few moments in this show where the miners are basically just singing out, like Stars Look Down.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's a moment where it's just male voices and they're singing in harmonies, and it's a real anthem. Same with Once We Were Kings as well. It's another song that I think all of the miners sing. And then Deep Into the Ground as well. You know, like 3 moments where it's just like almost like male voice choir singing, like real anthem-y.
But I think what's good there is that they were in unison. There was a very few of them that had to break away from the strikes to go back to work.
Yeah.
So those songs portray that unity of, we need to fight for what we believe in here as a group. There's no point just one person doing it or whatever.
But you get that from how Elton wrote the music. Like he did a very good job on Billy Elliot musically, I think. Why did you have a bit of a hum-ha about we might think differently about this musical?
Because the flippin' mum comes back as a ghost.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like, there's no need.
You are ripping the rest of this show.
There is
don't
no
like the
need.
show because of one song.
You know what? I think it's bad direction. I think it's bad of the creative team to allow that actress to be physically seen. I think that would have been far more powerful for that to be in Billy's head and him having a meaningful conversation.
And just have a voice. So you're okay. So there's a song called The Letter, which is basically a letter that they find, which the mum wrote to Billy, isn't that right?
Yeah.
When she was alive.
And then so she's writing it when he has grown up, being like, you'll not remember me.
That's right.
You know, I'll be a distant memory and all of this. And then does he reread the letter? Because it features at the beginning of the musical, and then it's like letter 2. And it's his response.
Doesn't Miss Wilkinson find it or something, and she starts to read it? Because I think it's a song with her, Billy, and then the mother, who then walks onto stage. Do you know what? I completely 100% agree with you. I think it's a bit naff. It's a bit of a naff moment. And I think you're right. It would have had much more impact. I mean, I still cried at it the first time I ever saw it, like without a doubt, because it's a really sad and poignant and lovely song.
Yeah, and I think the way Billy sings it, you know, you can...
Because he can't finish it, can he?
No.
That's it. He's reading it, he can't finish it, and then Mrs. Wilkinson takes it and finishes the letter for him.
That's it.
That's right.
But I just hate that she's on the stage.
That's fair enough.
And for me, it debunks or
cheapened it a bit.
Yeah, I just don't like that part. I just really don't like it. I've never liked it. It's not a my mum's dead type thing, and I can't have her come into. It's not that type of thing. I just have never. It's not real life, and don't get me wrong. I understand musicals are not real, but this is based on real life. It just
really irked you, that bit.
Yeah, it really. I get it. I thought
like. It's a bit naff when you think about it, you know, like this person who's not there.
Yeah.
And everything. I think that's the other thing. Like, everything else in the show was so realistic of its time, do you know? Like, they really depicted the hardship of the time, you know, where they were living. And then to have... And then even that, like, battle between, you know, not wanting to dance, or not being allowed to dance, but really wanting to dance. Like, it was all so real to then have something that wasn't real walking on stage. I get it. I totally get it.
And I do think that
But it's a good musical apart from
I do think they could cut the finale as well.
No!
But Lou, cut the finale as in not have it the finale. Move it up. And still have that big... I just don't...
But it wouldn't make sense
but I just want it to be... Like, I just want it to be the film. I think the way the film ends, or with the dad watching Billy, you know, perform in Swan Lake, is just wonderful. And
But it's not the film, it's the musical.
No, I know, but I just... I just think that creatively, there's just some parts of it I just can't get round.
But do you not think, the way I see it, the show, the storytelling is over? As he walks down that middle aisle, he says goodbye to Michael and he's off on his way he's got into ballet school and he's leaving his hometown and he's going off. That's the end of the show. The big dance, the big number at the end is almost like a curtain call. It's like a mega mix. It's like a mega mix at the end. So in Joseph, you've got Joseph, the story is finished and then they have a mega mix. You know, at the end of Grease is finished and then they have a mega mix of Grease. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's like we've done a really awesome job of telling the story. The story is over. Let's send the audience out with that was really touching and that really got me. I felt...
To go out and then have that feeling.
Because who the flip wants to go home, like on the train home, sitting in absolute utter silence for 45 minutes because you can't actually talk to anybody because you're still having to compute what you've just seen. I'm trying to remember what musical that actually happened to me, and I actually had to take... it was so much emotionally that I was like, God, I can't even function as to talk.
I get.
I like that they send you out with and the minor. I mean, it's ridiculous. The minors come on, tap shoes and tutus. No, it's not supposed to be part of the
then
show.
I think it needs to be a clearer break. Maybe it's
but
just.
It is.
But then I've only seen it on TV as such. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that is a problem.
Do they not even do the curtain call and then go into the dance?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking that as soon as he walks up the aisle they come on stage.
I'm surprised a song and dance girl like you.
No, I'm not saying that I don't like it. I do like it. I just think I love endings where you sort of see the end.
Yeah.
And him walking and going off to ballet school is not the end, because for me the end is him being successful as a ballet dancer. That was always the end goal for me. But do you not
kind of think that's depicted in that Electricity number when Billy...
No, that's him only getting into ballet school.
No, but in that number, do you remember the bit where he then ends up there's a male ballet dancer that comes on, and the two of them dance together? That's kind of showing what's going to... As you say, it's a flash forward. It's showing this is going to happen.
I want to see it, Timothy. I want to see it.
But how I think that would cheapen it, in that if you were to do that, then you'd have to have somebody acting as an older Billy, and it would have to be spot on. In film, casting wise, you can do it so well that the Billy looked quite similar to the older Billy who ended up dancing in Swan Lake looked quite similar to Jamie Bell. But casting wise in musicals and revolve of cast changes and all the rest of it, you'd never be able to get that.
I just think that for the story of Billy Elliot, it was such a struggle, such a hardship for his dad to accept, and he does eventually accept him. The fact that whenever he is, he's obviously a successful ballet dancer and his dad's there watching him. I love that part of the film.
Which is beautiful.
I love it. I just love it. But I'm willing to accept that they're two very different things.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying get rid of the song and dance. I'm just saying I just would have preferred it to end the way the film ends. Okay, I'll rewatch it and then maybe it'll make sense.
I remember in Stage School, when we did the Billy Elliot section, I was still taking the tap classes, and I was so enamored by that finale number, which starts actually slow. It's just Billy doing a tap riff on his own with very little music actually, and then it just builds and builds and builds until the whole company is doing the same, and then it goes into hell breaks loose and they have this big massive tap routine. I made it my mission to learn that, and then I taught it in Stage School. So I remember that it was so brilliant.
I think that's why I love the end bit so much, that I was quite passionate there. I'm so sorry if I
do you know
was
what?
too passionate.
No, I love it whenever we, are able to just say our feelings and then discuss it.
I think that was more heated than our Oklahoma conversation.
Because I don't care that much about Oklahoma.
I really care about Oklahoma. But I think I was a wee bit even more passionate.
Yeah, no.
Do you have, what are your standing ovations then?
So standing ovation
Not
is...
the tap break at the very end of the show, clearly.
Grandma, definitely, is my standing ovation.
Her song.
Mrs. Wilkinson, just...
The character.
Yeah, just the character. That attitude, that, like, what are you doing here? I'm here to teach ballet. Like, get in line or disappear,
Yeah.
Love it. She's really strong or something. Love the song Electricity, because I feel like if I didn't say that...
Can't really explain it.
Yeah. And my favourite song, though,
Haven't
is Solidarity.
Got the word.
Oh, yeah, you can.
I did a wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's my favourite song.
Yeah, well, I think I've mucked up a bit with my being so enthusiastic that I've mentioned all of my standing ovations throughout.
You were like checking them out.
But yeah, that whole idea of the male voice choir, that sound, like all of those, like Solidarity.
It's the rhythm in Solidarity I love.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that. Grandmother's song, as you said. But like Billie is my standing ovation. I think it's very telling when, the show won 4 Olivier Awards, Best Musical being one of them, but it also won Best Actor, and it was the first time that the 4, obviously, because they're kids, they're juveniles, that the roles shared.
Yep.
That, it was it just kind of showed up against all these different adults from different shows, and they won Best Actor, and they were all given, like the 4 actors were given an Olivier Award for the role. And then fast forward to when it opened to Broadway, and exactly the same thing happened at the Tonys. Do you know the show was nominated for a record equaling 15 Tony nominations? 15, and it won 10 out of the 15, including Best Musical Choreographer, and the same thing happened. The 4 actors that played Billie won the Tony. Like, imagine at that age winning an Olivier Award or a Tony, like, it's insane.
But they probably was one of the first musicals where a child took on so much. So it was the first time it was seen, and it was only right that all 4... because they're taking on the same burden.
And do you know that the weekend when the London stage show that was filmed live was broadcasted live in cinemas, it topped the box office charts in the UK and Ireland, beating the latest Hollywood blockbuster at the time. Now, don't ask me what that Hollywood blockbuster was, but I think for a musical to go into mainstream cinema and to chop the box office is just... As a musical theatre kid, that makes me really proud. I'm like,
Oh, no, it is good.
Just cut the mother. Cut the dead person. No need for her.
No need to see her.
No need. No, I agree. A voice would have been all you needed.
And not a, booming voice.
No, just a voice. Because we're not stupid as audience members. We know who it is.
I think,
it's already been made very clear that they lost the mother. Mm-hmm.
That's another thing that's really clever, is their staging is clever.
So clever. The use of chairs in the grandma song is like genius. Peter Darling, I think, was the choreographer.
So I think that, so that's what I was going to say. I wasn't too sure if it warranted the obsession that there was around it. But whenever you strip it back and you realise the staging, the music from Elton, the politicalness, the way they can capture how this affected so many families, than it does.
Yeah, because I thought, like at the beginning, I was quite surprised when you were like, I'm not so sure, because I thought you would have absolutely been all over it, because at times it's almost like a straight play with music, because... And anytime I've seen it, the acting has been top. Like the father has been sublime, and some like all of his stuff, all of his scenes are so emotionally charged. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like
whether he's dealing with the minor strike, or he's dealing with his son, or that bit where he knows he knows what he has to do for his son. He knows he has to go back.
And in what
back
way he's
down the mines.
One son over another.
Well, he does, doesn't he? Because that's what the older son says. Don't do it to me, Dad. Yeah. Don't do it to us all. We've been out for...
out for a year now,
A year now. Like, don't be going back down those mines. And the dad's like, but I have to. Like, he has to do this. He has to dance.
Yeah. And I love that advice that Mrs. Wilkinson gives. And I think that that's for anybody who maybe is in that position, who's maybe got an opportunity to go off to drama school, university, a gap year, whatever it is. If you've made that decision to go away, go and live it. Whether you were like me and you end up going for 3 or 4 months, you go experience what you need to experience, but don't look behind you. Just go experience it. Take that new future and learn.
Aye.
No matter what it is.
You put it so beautifully. She doesn't put it so beautifully. No. She uses a few choice words. I think P-O out of here.
Yeah.
And don't come back. Yeah.
But I think as well, because that's how they would have talked to each other.
Of course, absolutely.
That makes perfect sense.
Me sitting in the audience for the first time going, oh, she just told him to P.O.
You're probably about 18 whenever you seen that.
No, I know I was. But,
we all know that you were swearing from age 5.
I rebuked those allegations. Thank you very much. Anyway, on to next week.
Do you know what? My memory's
We're
gone.
lost. We're lost. Well, we might have a wee guest or two next week.
Oh, yes. We might have 2.
And you might have to find some shades of pink, and I'll get my hair gel out.
Yeah.
What bambalooba.
What bamboo.
Till next week.
Bye.
Bye.